Hello. 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 Oh man. So, do you have any question for the last class or anything with this class? Let me know.
I've
Anybody?
yet to encounter anything.
Okay.
I just need to replace the battery on my laptop.
Okay.
Parts should be arriving today, so that should be going smoothly.
Okay. So, if you have any question, I just want to review a little bit about this about last class. So basically, on the last class, we learned something about. We learned about programming. Yeah? We have the programming. You have the three basic elements in every program. You have input, you have processing, and you have the output here, right?
Mhm.
So basically, for the input in the Python, you have the built-in function. It is input, right? You have the built-in function is input, and every time if you want to get the input from user, you have to use the input function here, right? So think about if you want to get the number from the user here, right? So you put here and right. So for every time you want to get the input from user, you have to use the built-in function input here, and the enter number that is the prompt, right? So for every program, try to make a meaningful prompt here to tell user what he's expected to do, right? Otherwise, he has no idea what he has to do here. Okay, so when you get the input from user, the prompt here, you will enter the number 10 here. One thing about the input function you have to keep in mind, you have to remember that for every time you got it from the input function here, by the default, it always is the format of string. Right? So if you want to use a number, if you want to do with multiplication and division and adding or subtracting, you have to convert it into the number format. And in order to convert it into the number format, you have two built-in functions also, right? You have the in function or float function here. So think about this one here. Now I got it number 10 here, and I want to print out the number 10, but actually you see, it is under the quote mark here. So when everything is under the quote mark, it is in the string format. Right? So if now I want to for now I want to plot here, I got the syntax error because I cannot add string with the number here, right? So now for that reason, if you want to use number format, you have the two built-in functions. The first one, you have the first one here. You have to use this one here. I had to use the in function here, int here. Okay, so see for this one here, you got the input function, you got it from the user, right? Number 10 here is string format, and now you use the int function here, it convert it into the integer format. Integer format, if everything is a whole number here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or -5 or -10, right? So for this one here, I put again number 10. I add print out again. You see, now it is in the number format, not the type format anymore, right? So that is a function you convert it into the integer, and the other one is the input float function. Float function when you convert it into decimal format. I think about I had another one here. Let me convert this one. And now if you want to convert the floating number, you use the float here. Now I put the 10.75 here, 57 here, right? So I put the number 18 here. Now I see I have the number, right? So that is just something I want to remember about when you work with the Python here. Whenever you want to get the input, you use the input function. And if you want to use the number format, you have to convert it in by the in function or float function. Now, that is the input, right? The processing we learn later. And the output in the Python, you have to use built-in function. Okay, it's a print function, right? It's print function here. So whenever you want to print somehow something, I want to print out action. So what is X? Right? That is I use a build function here, or I want to print out a text here. Or a string here, hello world here. Okay, that's the thing we do with the Python. So basically, for the first class, we mentioned too many things, but in short, I just want to review a little bit about how we get the input and how we convert into the number format and how we want to print it out here. Right? That's something I want to review about last class here. Now we move to the why is it chapter 1 here? Okay, we move to the chapter 2. So in the chapter 2, we learn something about the software development, data type, and expression here. Right. You know why?
Turned on the.
Yeah, it's on. Okay, so objective of this chapter, we describe the basic phase of software development, analysis, design, coding, and testing, and we use string, integer, and floating point, arithmetic expression, initialize, and use variable with name here. So now we talk about the software development process. And the software development is a process of planning and organizing program. And you have many approaches. And one of the oldest one is a waterfall model here. So in the waterfall model phase, you have the customer request, you have analysis, you have design, implementation, integration, and maintenance here. So in the customer request, that when you get the request from the customer, right? And once you got the request, you have to analyze. You have to do it in the detail. What you need to do here. So when you got all the information, you design it. Normally, in the design in program, you do something with the flowchart or pseudocode, right? Or break it down in the function in module with the. And when you go with implementation, that when you convert the pseudocode, you convert the flowchart, you convert the algorithm into the real programming language that you convert into Java or Python here. And for integration, normally you include the testing scenario here. You have to test to make sure everything works perfectly before you put it into production. And the last one, you always have to maintain here, right? So if something going wrong, you have to patch it or you have to correct it here. Now, so think about in the customer, I want to give you a simple example here, right? The thing about what is a customer request, what's the analysis, what's the design here. Think about if you give me, if you tell me that make some cookies for you, right? So some cookies for you. So that is the customer request. Right? So now you tell me that you want to make some cookies. Do you think it's easy or not? What do you think? And you can go right away to make it or not?
Depends on the cookies you want, how many
right?
you want.
So that is when you got the customer request here, you go with the analysis. Analysis, that means you have to go into detail. You have to analyze what is specifically the customer want here, right? So now he said that he wants a cookie. How many? Right? How many cookies you want? And what type of cookie? You want the chocolate chip or not? You want something crunchy or not? Right? You have to go into detail to make it more specific about the customer request here. The design. So when you go about the specific requirement, you have to design that you need how many milk, right? How many flour, how many chocolate chip. You have to do everything with this one, and you have to figure out what the recipe for this one, right? And now implementation, you just follow the recipe and you mix everything together, you put it into oven here, right? So that is implementation. Integration, that is something about testing. You have to test that it's crunchy or not, or it's too much sugar or not. Right? If everything works perfectly, you can do it again with the other one here. Right? And now something go wrong, you have to go back to fix it still. And sometimes they call it is a software development life cycle. That means you can go back to any step to fix it here. If something go wrong, right, you go back to the previous step to fix it here. And normally for the model or software development, it is, usually it's incremental and interactive. That means you can fix every small step and you go back anytime to fix it here. Right? So here you see that is a waterfall model, the software development process. You see, even that they are working in the layer here, but at any time, at any step, you are able to go back to fix it here. Right? Anytime. That's why they call it the cycle. Cycle, that means if anytime, if something going wrong, you have to fix it and you have to go back to fix it here. And now I think I have some of the specific case here. In this one. Now, this is a program, right? That is an income tax calculator here. So the request, the customer request a program that compute program that compute a personal income tax. So what do you think? That is easy or not? Or how can you do with this program? Compute a personal income tax here. It's not enough at all, right? You have to go into analyze here. In order to compute a personal income tax, what do you think? What are the income we need to figure out the personal income tax here? What are the input here?
I mean, if there's income from,
Sorry?
oh, go on.
Come on, yeah.
Income from job, income from investment, income from any other source,
Yeah.
whether or not they found $20 on the ground.
Okay. So here, that's correct. But to make it short, right? To make it short, just think about this one. In order to figure out the personal income tax, the first thing you need the gross income, right? The gross, yes, you're right. It might come from many sources here, but to make it simple here, I need something about gross income here, right? Gross income. Anything else? Anything else? What do you think?
Probably the state, because each state probably.
Yes, state tax rate, right? State, yeah, it can have the state.
Federal.
Right here. Yeah, federal also, right? You have a federal also. Right here. Anything else?
Are there any tax breaks?
Yes. Or you can have the deduction, right?
Yeah,
Or you
deduction
can
or-
So you see, when you got the customer request here, actually you have to pay a lot of work on your own. You have to deep down, you have to analyze in more detail here in order to deliver to the personal income tax here. That is something about analysis here. So we see for this one here, when you go this one, right, to make it simple, you have all tax layers chat with a flat tax rate here. That is very simple program. It's at 20%, right? And all the taxpayer with a 10,000 standard deduction. And for each dependent, you have the 3,000 deduction here, right? So when you got the gross income, right, you have to do the deduction with standard deduction, and you have to do with the deduction with the dependent here. Right? So when you do everything with the deduction, after that you just time it with the 20% of the tax rate here in order to figure out what is the income tax rate. Right? So what do you think about this one here? That is analysis, right? That is analysis. When you go with design, normally you break it down into module or algorithm. You do with the pseudocode or you work with the flowchart. Right? That's something you learn in the at 120, I believe. Right? So we see for this one here. Right? When you work with pseudocode, the first thing you need to get what is gross income here? What is gross income, right? So now, in order to, you have to figure out what is the taxable income. You have a gross income. You minus for the deduction of 10,000, and it depends on how many dependents, and you deduct for this one. So when you figure out what is the tax intangible, now we have a flat rate of the 0.2 here, and determine it, and you print it out with the tax here. So that is everything about the design, right? So the design, it can be the pseudocode or it can be flowchart. So when you look into the pseudocode and when you look into the flowchart, you convert it into the real programming language. That is something about the implementation or coding here. You read on that one and you do it with the coding in the Python. This one is the Python here. Right? So in the Python, like when you write the program in the Python, the first step it is a zero, the header command. The header command is okay. The header command is everything about the text. It gives you the information, what is the purpose of the program, and give you some information about what is how we figure it out here, right? So from the header command point of view, from the computer, it has no benefit from the computer, because when the program execute program, sorry, when the program execute, it will ignore everything about the command. It's only helpful for the programmer. Right? You think about, you have very complex program. It's very hard for you to look it down. What is the everything single line here, right? So it gives you the overview. What is the purpose of the program here? So this everything about the command actually is only useful to the programmer only. It has no benefit to computer here. Right? So next step here, you have initialize the constant. Constant is something never change, always stay the same. Right? And normally in the Python, every constant you put it in the uppercase. So when you see the text rate here, 0.2, that means it stays the same 0.2 in the program here. Standard deduction, you have 10,000, and the dependent deduction, you have the 3,000 here, right? So after that, you see, you need to get gross input, right? That's why you got the gross input here, and you have to convert it into the float, right? That's gross gross input. The number of dependent is not be integer, right? It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why you have to convert it into the int function here. Now everything about the computation, and the last one, the display here. Now you do everything with the customer request, right? The analysis. Now we do with the design. Now we do with the implementation. The last one, the next one is testing. You have to make sure that program runs smoothly. You have to find out if you have any syntax error, or if you have any going wrong with the logic error here, right? That's why you do with the testing. The testing here. So in the test, you have to figure out how many scenarios is that you want to test here. So what do you think about this one? Now about this one here, try to work with the Python. In that class here, it ran for the 16 weeks. For me, it's too long. I think it should be condensed into the 8 weeks here. That's why I want to give you some time to practice on the class with the Python. And try it with the Python, and if something coming up, I'm happy to fix it. Okay, so you can open the Python, or you can open the Visual Studio Code. It's up to you. And you try to code with it, okay. So in the last slide, right, I mentioned that it is up to you. You can choose whatever IDE you want. It can be in the Python, and in the Python we already have integrated here. So we new file here in the Python. You can do it with the Python, or you can do it with the Visual Studio Code here. Yes, so it totally is up to you. And for me, I prefer the Visual Studio Code because I work with it quite a long time, and I'm familiar with this. Yeah, but it's totally it's up to you. You can work with the Python or PyCharm or Visual Studio Code or whatever. So now let me open this one here, right? Now you just follow the step here. You get the input. You have to figure out what's the taxable income by deduction, standard deduction, and it depends on the number of dependent here. And now it's time with it's a flat rate here. So yes, in Scala you work with Visual Studio Code, right? You touch file here and you select the language, you scroll down, you go to the Python here. Where, or this one,
It might be alphabet. I don't know.
yeah. Okay.
I was just trying to see what the header
Okay.
is. Triple quotes.
So for the header command, you have to put it under the triple quote mark, under double quote mark, under the triple. Yeah, so that is a very simple example for the header command. Right? Now you need to get the input, right? For this one, you have the two inputs. The first one is gross income, and the second one is the number dependent. Right? And the gross income is in float type, and the number dependent is in the integer type. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. Actually, we have break it up here. Alright, so we have the first thing you see, you have to define so what is a constant here, tax rate, standard deduction, and dependent deduction here. So normally for every program, the first step you have to initialize the constant. And remember by the rule, every constant is in the uppercase. So when on the target, you have the some transaction. So you can hit the tab, is it correct? Is it, you do not have to type the whole thing. Yeah. Even this one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So the last step is when you're done, you run it and test it with something like what happens if you have one dependent, two dependent, and four dependent, and so on. When we save it.
Yeah, that's kind of. There we go.
Desktop, okay. Yeah.
Nice through this one because it's not moving.
Okay, the thing that when and then put the enter command, you have to put in cheapo level.
Okay, so that's different. Oh, there we go. Okay.
And click on this one, and you choose the Python here.
And
Yeah, there's a thing here. I just you see that this one is not really good in the presentation, right? So we should be better that you put something about the dashboard. This one here to make it more sense, right? Let's see.
make it more simple on an official scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see, to make more sense, right? If I have
5,000.
1002. Yeah, so we have a negative one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, negative 3,000. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense at the rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that all works out.
Okay.
File. Thank you. Keep that as a file. Okay.
The thing is that, yeah,
Very slow.
it's okay. But the thing that you remember that this one it is a constant. I mean, never change, and by the default, the constant you have to put everything in uppercase. Right? So yeah, everything is uppercase.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, let's try and break that.
Okay, so here's the program, right? So here is the program. Here. Yes, this one. So basically, you see, if you look on this program, if you look on this program here, you can see that let me close. What is it? I cannot see it. Okay, so we see everything here is a header command. It's a header command give you the general information. What is the purpose of this program here? And remember that if you delete everything here, it runs it perfectly, right? So remember that the command is only useful for the programmer to see what is the purpose of the program here. But from the computer perspective, you have no benefit here. Right? So the next one here, you tell that you have initialized the constant. Remember that for every program, it should be better that you have to initialize the constant before at the beginning of the program here. So we have the tax rate is a 20%. Right? You have standard deduction, you have 10,000, and you have dependent deduction, you have 3,000. And remember that for every constant here, you put everything in the uppercase. That is the rule when you work with the Python. Right? Now, for this program, you know that you need two inputs. Right? You need the two inputs. The first one is gross income, and the second one is the number of dependent. And gross income, it is float type. Right? You might have the 10,000.5 or something. That's why you have to convert it into the float function here. But the number of dependent must be integer, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why you put the int here. So when we're done with the input here, right? Now you have to figure out what is taxable income. You have a gross income minus to standard deduction minus to dependent deduction times the number of dependent. And you see, you apply the tax rate here is a 20%. That's why you have income tax. It is a taxable income times the tax rate. And the last one here, you have income tax in pre. And you see for this one here, you might raise the question, what is it? What is it here? String, that is it. Again, this is a built-in function. It converts number back into the string format. You see, when you want to concatenate that one is string, and you want to concatenate with other string format, this one by the default it is a number format here. This is number format. Now, if you want to concatenate by the plot here, you have to convert it into string format. Otherwise, you got a syntax error. Right? So you can see, I can do it here for you. Now, if I remove this one here. If I remove this one, you will got the syntax error because you cannot concatenate the string with the number here. All right, so we can run it here. Yeah, see, you have the syntax error, right? Because and also we give you suggestion here, right? You only can concatenate only when you convert it by string format. Okay, so if you look again in this program, everything here, it is a header command. It is a header command. Everything here is a header command. And those guys here, they call it the inline command. Inline command. So whenever you do the inline command, you have a hash packet. Right? So give you some of the information. Now, this step here, you have to initialize the constant. This step here, you have to request the input. And this step here, you have to compute the income tax. Right? So basically in the Python, you have two types of commands. The first one, the header command at the beginning of the program, give you general information. What is the purpose of the program here? And for the inline command, to give you more detail about step by step. Again, remember that all of the comment here from the computer perspective, you have no benefit. It only gives some benefit to the programmer only. Right? So see, if I delete this one, it runs again, right? Run again. The same. Actually, from the computer, it runs always the same. Sorry, I have to convert it back. Let's change here, or you can use this one also. It's okay. But okay. Here, right? So basically, if you see, if I remove string function here, the output here, the output. Okay.
You can press the power button on the.
Okay. So see the output here. I don't want to have a space here. I don't want to have space here in between the dollar sign and the number. That's why to make it better, I have to use a concatenation here, and I convert it back to this one. I put the string function here. Okay, to make it more sense. Okay. Okay, so now for this program, you see the last step of every program, you have to pass it. What happens if you have one dependent, two dependent, and so on, to make sure it runs smoothly here. Okay. Now if I run again, for this one, I have a what? 100,000. Now I put 2 here. What happened here? Again, I got the problem. So see, in the program, you have a lot of things with the program. You always have to handle everything, and you have to figure out the testing scenario for this one. So basically, this is the exception, and you learn how to handle this one later in this class. But here, I just want to show you that in the program, you might come up with many problems during the testing step here. Yes.
Because we're doing a float on the gross income, don't we have, for printing it out, don't we need to do a round? So that you only get the 2 decimal places, because when I first ran it, and I used the float, I got it.
Oh yeah, I got it. You got it. Yeah, actually, for the format, we learn about it later. How to format about if you want to only have a 2 decimal or 4 decimal. We learn it later. Yeah.
I think that's for later on.
Yeah.
Maintenance.
Yeah, maintenance. So, yeah.
Making sure it looks good.
Yeah, we have to release a patch. Okay. Okay, so any question for this one? I think it's very simple here. Okay, so that we talk about a software development life cycle, right? Program rarely work as a whole as the first time. Normally that is very simple program, right? But you know that in the real life it's very complex and complicated. So it really rarely work as a whole as the first time you run. So must perform extensive and carefully testing. That's why the testing normally the testing scenario here you have to figure out during the design. During the design step, you have to check. You have to next checking this. What is the first test? What is the second test, and so on and so on. Right? And the cost of the developing software is not spread equally over the phase. The later you detect the problem, the higher quantity. Right? The sooner you detect problem, you can go back and fix it sooner. So the lower quantity. Now, so we see if you detect something in analysis, very minimum cost here. But later on here, during the maintenance, you have a lot of thing to do with this one here. And here is you have a chart to present the total cost in each phase of the development process. So see it's analysis and a design, implementation, and integration here. But for maintenance here, you have a lot of cost for this one. So that's why again in any actually if you go back to the life cycle here, the 2 important steps is analysis and design. You have to pay knowledge, intensive work on this one. You have to go in detail. I think about this one. Give me some cookie. You think about it's easy, right? You do it right away. So what happened if he needs 10 instead of 5? If he needs something about crunchy, you have to go back to do the whole process here. Right? That's why for the life cycle here, the two more important steps it is the analysis and design. You have to pay attention. You have to do it in the detail in order to have the successful program here. The implementation or coding is very simple. If you look into the pseudocode and flowchart, you convert it into the interprogramming. It is quite simple. Now we move to the data type. Data type is a concept of set of value and the set of operation. You learn about operation later. That can be performed also a value, and literal is a way of value a data type look to a programmer. And you know that for int and floats as a numeric data type here because they represent the number. So in the Python, here's some of the three basic data types. The first one, the integer here, right? Integer here, you see everything is a whole number, and the real number is floating because it has floating point. Right? That's the example. And character string in the Python is that you have to put everything inside the quote mark or double quote mark. Okay, so in the Python, string literal is a sequence of character enclosed in the single or double quotation mark. You have to remember that if you want to do everything in string, you have to put it in the single or double quotation mark here. And you can put the empty string. You see this one is empty string, and this one also empty string here. And so think about this one here. For this one, if you print out the text here, I'm using the single quote in this string. You see for this one here. For this one, you use a single quote mark here in the text, right? So it should be better. You put everything here in the double quote mark, so you can avoid the mistake in the string here. And again, if you want to use a double quote mark, or think about this one, if you use a double quote mark here, the better you use the single outside here. Yeah.
If you would like, you can press the power button on the TV once. That thing.
Ah, okay. I don't know that. Thanks. Okay, so you can use the triple. You have a triple quote mark or the triple double quote mark for the multi-line paragraph. That's the one we do with the header comment here, right? And for the very long comment here, you put a triple here. Right? So basically, now you have the sum of the character for this one. You have the new line. You have the horizon. Is it the top here? And if you want to print out, the single slash here, I remember that you have to use the double in order to print out the single. And if you want to print out the single quote mark, you have to use slash and so on here. You can try with the shell to see it here how it works with this one here. You open this shell, this one. So think about you want to print out hello. And you put and here, and that means you go to the new line, right? New line here. So see, print out. You break it down into two lines here. Or if you want the tab, here, use it. You have T here. Sorry. Okay, that's the tab here. Or if you want to have the single quote mark here, you have this one, and so on. That is some very basic thing we have here. And for the string concatenation, for any string, you can concatenate them together by adding them together. You see that you can concatenate the three string here, and you put them and then print out this one. anytime you want to print that. And in the Python, you can use this star operator here that allow you to multiply the string. I think about this one here. If I want to print now, if I want to print now hello 10 times, right? If I want to print now hello, I just time with the 10. So print out the hello 10 times. Right? That is something very useful when you work with Python. Now we go with a variable. I believe that's the last time I also mentioned about variable, right? Variable is always associated with the name with a value, right? So think about when you have variable, actually you reserve one slot in the memory. You reserve, I think it should be better I choose this one here. Right? When you have the variable, you reserve one slot in the memory. Think about I put the X here. That's the variable X. It only reserves one slot in the memory, right? So every time you call X, actually it references to the memory here, and they take out the value of this one. Right? So think about in the Python, you put X equal to 10. That means it's assigned. You assign the value of 10 to the variable X here, and you store the number 10 here into the slot memory. All right. So next time, if you want to use y equal to X plus 10 here, so again it reference to the slot memory with the name X. Take it out the value 10 and add the 10. So now you have the value of y to 20 here. That's the variable. Right? So it make it easy to remember and use a letter in program. And remember one thing: variable is something that varies here. It's changeable. Right? And anytime if you reassign it to 20, it will override the last one. And now we store the number 20 here instead of number 10. Okay, so in the Python, you have the sum of variable name rule. The reserved word cannot use as a variable name. They are reserved word in the Python. You use the decision if definition and import here. You cannot use it. Right? And the name must begin with a letter or underscore here. A name can contain any number or letter or digit or underscore. Remember one thing is very important here. Name are case sensitive. Right, so that's why in some of most common mistake in the Python is that you call out the variable, but the name is not consistent because it is case sensitive here. So think about this one. If I go back to my program here, let me change this one here. Right? I just change this one here. Now I run it. Here, I have the syntax error here, right? The thing is that you see, the income here and this one, they are not the same. Because in the Python, it's a case sensitive here. So in order to fix it, you have to either correct it to the lower case, or you have to correct it into the upper case here to be consistent here. It makes sense? Okay, and one of thing is that it is something. It's a constant, right? Constant here. Constant. That means the value stays the same during the whole program. And normally it's a constant. They put it everything in uppercase, and you have to initialize the constant at the beginning of the program here. All right. And variable receive initial value and can be reset. That you can reassign to the another value. So in order to reassign it, you just put the variable name on the left and the expression here on the right. Okay, so we see you assign the string can to the first name, you assign the number to the second name. Now you do everything, you just add them together, right? And you have the full name here. Express straightforward here. Variable serve the two purposes. The first one, the program keep track of data that change over time and allow programmer to refer the complex. Sometimes you have very complex and you put everything in one single variable. So you call it abstraction here. Now the comment, I already mentioned that. Remember that the command program ignore it when you execute, have no benefit to the computer, right? But it's very, very useful to the programmer. You can think about you have very, very complicated program. It's very hard for you to keep check everything. So it should be better to include the header command and inline commands here also. Okay, so we see this is example of the header command, and this is example of the inline command. Remember that in the header command, you put everything inside the triple quote mark or triple double quote mark here. And for the inline, you put everything here in the line here or on the top of the line with a hashtag here. Okay, you have some tips related to command and doctrine. Begin a programming statement of the purpose. That is a header command here, right? And the other information helpful to the programmer. Also, you have to work with the inline command or end of line command here. Right. Yes, for the header command, it's a brief command that explains purpose. Right. Okay, so now we talk about the integer. Integer is everything in the whole number, right? By the realized integer, it goes to infinity. I know that. But in the computer, you only have specific memory. Right? That's why you only have that in the Python here. It's a range of the integer number in the Python. Actually, it's a huge number here. Right? And remember that integer is written without the comma. You cannot put the comma in the integer here. And again, a real number also can go into the infinite precision here. It can have many decimal point after that one. And in the Python, that is the range of the floating point here. And normally, typical precision is a 16 digit. Okay, so it can be written using the decimal notation or scientific notation. This one, I do not go into detail. You know that's one, obviously. Now, character. So we have the integer, right? You have the floating point. Now we have the character set, character set. So basically, in the Python string, it is a character set because it includes many character in the string here, right? And in the string and in the character in the Python, you have two functions. You have or and you have char here. The function that you convert character to and from the ASCII. And you know the ASCII code, right? ASCII code is that you for each of the specific character you have the ASCII code for this one here, and you can search it up in the internet. You can search it up in the ASCII code here. Yes, so we can see it depends, right? So if you had what's A here? Yeah, capital A, you have 65, right? The ASCII code decimal here 65, but you have lowercase, you have 7 and 97. Well, yes, this one 97, right? So ASCII code, and in the Python, you have two functions here. The OR function is convert character into the ASCII. And the char function, it convert from the ASCII code back to the character, and you can practice. You can do everything with the shell here. So put in number Z here, and this one the 90. And now we want to convert it back. What is the 90 here? Between now, oh sorry, not char. Yes. So that is some simple function when you work with the character set. Now you move to the arithmetic expression. So in the Python, you have the sum of the basic expression here. You have the subtract here, right? You have that's one here. When you have double star here, it's an exponential. So think about this one. Alright, so think about if you have the 2 and double star 3 here, that means you have 2 times 2 here. Sorry, times 2 here, you have 8 here. Alright? And you have multiplication, you have division here give you the decimal point. But for this one, you have quotient, that means it keep you only the whole number here. And you have the remainder, that means when you have the 9, you divide by 2, right? You have remainder is 1 here. And you have addition and subtraction here. So sorry, this one is the negative.
I'm sorry. For the double slash, isn't that the
This
square
one?
root?
This one?
Isn't it square root?
No, not square root.
It's not?
No, that it's a division, but it keeps the whole number. I believe so. Let me see. So think about it, have 9, 4. Yes, you have the 2 here. Right? So basically it keeps the whole number. It get rid of any decimal point here.
Okay.
Right? And you have the 9, and you modular this one modular 2. It keep only remainder. So we have 1 here. Right? Yes.
Does that work with floating numbers?
Which one?
Like, if I were to float the 9 and the 2 and then divide them against each other, would
You can try it. It's a good question. Let me try it. Yeah. But I don't think so. 9.5 divided by 2. What is it? Oh, yeah. So again, it keeps the whole number, but you have 1 decimal point here. So what about 9.55 divided by 2? I think that. I cannot.
does.
No. This one is the divide. We have quotient here. Okay, yeah. It only keep the whole number. But when you put the floating point, it put the 0 here.
So it knows there's a floating point, it just doesn't continue after the decimal.
Yes, it does.
Good to know.
Yeah. Okay, so in the equation, arithmetic equation, you have the order operation. That means the priority. So normally for the exponential, you have the first priority. After that, you have the multiplication, division, modular, and the last one is the addition and subtraction here. And of course, you can change it. You can modify the order of operation by using the parentheses. Right? So think about this one. If you look on this one, what do you think? What is the final outcome of this one? Tell me, what is it? And how we do it?
We would start with 3 plus 1.
Yes, right. You always have to start with the parentheses and inside first, right? So that's why. Remember that parentheses. You only have to start with the parentheses, and this one is inside. You have to do first. You have 4 here, right?
Yep.
Yes. And anything else?
And then that would,
2 times, or yeah, 2 times.
Yes,
8,
the 2 from you have 8 here, right? So now you have 8 here.
and then 10 minus 8.
Yeah, so we have 2 here.
Minus 2.
Right?
Then you go with the exponent.
Yeah, now we go to exponential,
3
right?
power 2 is
It's 9, right? 2
And then-
3 times 3, you have 9 here. So now I can rewrite here, we have 15 minus 9 divided by 3 plus 9 here. Okay. And now you have to do everything with division, right? Do division, you have a 3 here. So we have 15 minus 3 plus 9.
And then we just combine it all together.
Yes, and do everything from the left to right because they are on the same order here. Everything from left to right. Oh, this one here, you have the mixed mode arithmetic. In that case, it only convert into the float. If you mix between the floating and the decimal here. Yeah, again, that function input is always string value, right? And you have to convert it into the integer or floating function here. Okay, and now that's the difference between the integer and the round number here. The integer, whatever it always get rid of everything decimal point and keep you the whole number only. But for the round here, it always round it to the nearest whole number, right? So see for the round here, this one is close to the 7. That's why when you round, you have a 7 here. But when you use the integer, it only says 6 here. That's something the difference between the integer function and the round function.
Okay, so the int just ignores the decimal point.
Yes,
As
ignore.
far as it's concerned, that doesn't exist.
Yes.
But the round function does recognize the decimal point.
Yes, and round it up to the nearest whole number here, the whole number. Yes.
Can technically the quotient be useless if you just int everything?
Sorry?
Could technically the quotient function be useless if you just int it?
I
So
think
like if you did like 9 quotient or /2, you could just convert that into an int.
to 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or you could just do 9 divided by 2 and then int that.
Okay, so this one here, is conversion. Again, it will mix between the number and the string. When you want to concatenate them together, remember you have to use the string function here. You have to convert, right? You have to convert the number into the string format here. I see if you have profit here and you concatenate them together, this one is a string format. This one is the number format, and you got the syntax error. You got the syntax error. That's why if you want to concatenate them together, you have to use a string function here. You convert the number, this one number here into the string format, and you concatenate them. Yes.
Or the comma, right?
Sorry?
Or the comma. That's what I did earlier.
You can replace the, what's it saying? You can replace the plus to a comma.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. But the comma here, I show you what is a comma. I already actually I show it before.
Yeah.
So for the comma, you have the space between them. Whenever you put the space between, yeah, you can do it by using this the function separate function here. Let me show you. This one here, right? You can use a comma here, and I have to correct this one. Yes, you can run it here. So I have the 100 here. 2 here. So you see, you have the space here. You have space. Yeah, you can do it by using the format here. You have a separation equal to this one. This one works, but it's more complex. Yeah. Yeah, it makes right. So we can use the separation here. Of course, in the Python, you have many ways to do it. Yeah, that's something I just want to highlight every option here.
1,000 ways to do the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
how does it work to do? Yeah. Okay, so now we go with using the function module. We go in the detail about function and we did in the chapter 5, but now we have only some of the simple function here. Function is a chunk of code that can be called by name to perform a task. So basically, for the complex program, you can break it down into many functions, and you call it for each of the functions. They have specific tasks. They have specific purpose, and you can think about the labor division here. Right? You have the whole work here, and now it's very complicated work. You can break it down. You have break it down into smaller. It's smaller here. Oh, I don't know why it's very hard to do this one here. And for every time you just call it. If you want to do this one, you call the function, and you want to do this one, you call the function, and do this one, is call the function here. So the complicated work, when you break it down into smaller work, it's very easy to assign to the team, right? Like team and easy for them to do. You can think about if you want to build a house, You have the team for electricity, right? You have the team for plumbing. You have the team for the plywood. And each of the team, they are only good at the plumbing, only good at the plywood only. Right? That's why you have to break it down into the that one they call the labor division here. Right? And the other benefit of the function is that you can reuse it. When you define you can call it again, you call it again. You think about you want to build another house here, right? Build another house here, you can call this one. That's why you work with the module. Okay. You learn it later in the function here. But for now, it's just give you a simple definition here. A function is a chunk of code that can be called by name and perform a task. And function often require argument or parameter. An argument is maybe the optional or required. When the function is complete its task, it may return a value back to the part. Let me show you with this one here. I think this one is very straightforward. It is where. Yeah, this one. Okay, so this is a very simple program. In that program here, I have the two functions. The first one is I define the rectangle function here, and the second one is a main function. So normally in the Python later on, for every program you have the main function. The main function is the core of the program, and from the main function you can call any other function here. So in this program here, I define the function rectangle, and this one in the rectangle is the name of our function, and the x and y here they are parameter. They are parameter. The x and y here are parameter, and you have the return here. It figure out what is the area I come y and return the value. I think about that is when I define the function, right? So in the main function here, I got input from the user. I think about I have length here 20. I got input from the width here. I have 10 here. Now in the function here, in the main function, I call the rectangle function. That is the action to call the other function, right? So when now every program starts with the main program, right? Go with the main. What's the main? I call the main here, right? And main, I got the 20, I got the 10. Now in the main, I call the rectangle. So when you call rectangle, it go over to the definition of rectangle here, right? And it passing the number 20 and the number 10 into the parameter. So now, if you passing it, now I have x here equal to 20 and I have y here equal to 10. Okay? The action here they call it the passing, and the 10 and 20 here they call it argument. Argument that means the number you got it and we passing it into the function, into the parameter of the function. So parameter it is a some variable you use when you define the function. You see, when I define the function here, x and y, they are parameter. But when I call the function, I have the action to passing the argument into the parameter. So that's why I'm passing the number 10 and number 10 as a 20 and 10 here into the x and y, and it's return area. That means I have 20 times 10 here, I have 200. Right? And I print it out, it is 200 here. Okay. So for this program, you can run it here. You can see if I put 20, I put 10 here, and print out the 200. That is a very simple program, but I just want to show you how the function works and what the definition of the parameter and what's the function of argument. Remember, parameter is they are the variable when you define the function, and the argument is the number when you passing this value into the parameter of the function here. Any questions so far? Now in the Python, they have some about the new module. What is a module? Module is a set of a function. That means you have a lot of functions and you can use it anytime you want. Anytime you want, you just code it out and use it here. Right? So in the Python here, So you have one of the module is a math. It's a math module. In the math module, you have many functions, and you can check. Yeah, you can check by And if you want to use any function in the math module, the first step you have to import it. You have to import it into the program. You have to import math here. It is a module. It only integrated in the Python. You do not have to do anything. And if you want, you just call it out and use any function in the math module here. And in the math module, you have many functions, and one of that is a pi function here. One of the function here is a pi function. So the pi function is to take it out the number pi number here. And you have square root function. It print out what is the square root here. Right? And if you want to use any function, remember that you have to use a combination of the module name here, module name, and the function name. Right? So see, you can practice with the shell here. You go to the shell. All right. The first step, if you want to use any function in the math, you have to import it. So now I want to print out what is the math pi here. See, and I want to print out what is a square root 100 here. It tag here. And what is it? If I want to see how many functions in the math, I have here, math here. Yes, you see, you have many functions in the math here. And now, if I want to see what is the purpose of specific function, I think about this one here. I have log. Oh, what is it?
Wouldn't it be help math.log?
I am maybe yeah. Let's see. Yeah, sorry. That's correct. Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so we see if you have the general purpose of this one here. So basically, you can use any build a module, and if you know the specific function of anyone, you can use it. You can use it here, or you can define the module by the one. Right? So think about this one here. In this one, I define the module here, and I can use the module for this one here. See, I define the module. It's a module. I put the module name. It's a module. Here, and inside I have one function. It's quite simple, right? But actually, in the module, normally you have many functions here. And again, in the program here, I import module because I have a module name here, right? And I import it. And in that I can use the function rectangle of the module here. I don't know if that work here in the temporary. Yes, see, working. So the function here, I define the module. In that, I define the function. So in any other program, when I want to use it, I just import it here, and I can use any function in that module. Make sense? Okay, so how to run the Python? I show you, right? You can run the shell, or you can run it from here, right? You just open the file and locate the program, or if you want to run with the Visual Studio Code, you can do it here. You have many ways to run it. So I think that's all for the lecture for today. Any question?
No.
Hello, for the guy online, do you have any question?
I do not have any.
Nope. Okay, so let me see. Oh,
I'll find out if I have any questions real quick when I do the homework tomorrow.
a homework tomorrow. Now let's see what we have here. For this one,
We're on module 1.
module 1, right? Is this 28 is a Sunday? Have this
Yep.
question. You have
Hunter, you need to come into class.
Now, you have two programs here, you have to do on this Sunday, because this one is designed for the 16 week. So each module I have to break it down in 2 weeks. Right,
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah, that's why.
Again, gonna find out real quick tomorrow, because I have a whole day off tomorrow.
Okay.
Do homework and
That's
figure
good.
stuff out.
Should be better you do it in advance. So if you have anything come up, you can come back to me on next week to see. Yeah. So for this week, you have the two programming exercise here, and this exercise I think it linked to the Cengage.
Yes, engage.
Yeah, Cengage.
I believe the first one's like hello. Or
Yeah, very simple, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
the
very-
first one is very
It's
simple.
basically hello world, right?
Yeah, I think it's always okay. So this
well,
one,
Program.
this one you have enter your name and your age and pronoun, right? That's very simple, right? And very
The other
simple.
one. One is
Yeah.
around,
Oh. Is it? Okay.
yeah.
So basically, we done everything with the lecture already. So next week we do with the homework if you have anything. I think it should be in 8 weeks only. 16 weeks is too long.
You can drive this surface area cube, blah, blah.
This is just formula stuff.
Okay, the cube here. So basically for the cube, you have the 3D, right? You have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to figure out how many sides, right? What is it?
You enter an edge and then the surface area is gonna be 6 times.
A surface area, right? So you have to figure out what is the surface area of each side. It's a 4 times 4, right? 16. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
Huh? That's 16, that's it. That's very simple. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 times the edge to the power.
Okay,
That's-
and now for this program, you need one input. It is a cube edge here. It can be 4, 5, 6, and you allow the option. You hit the user option to enter, right? Can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you use the formula for each side. You have the time together, right? You have to think about we put the variable name is edge here, edge time edge. That is each side, right? And you have the 6 side,
area.
you times 6 here. Right? Yeah, you put the area, yeah, area.
That will give you the surface area.
So very simple. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Let me check the attendance here.
If anything, if you don't have anything until we can work on the assignment right now.
I can probably just pound that out right now.
Hunter, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Out of the class, so.
Riley? Yeah. Riley, are you here? No. Daniel?
Yeah,
No, this are not here. Here.
yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yes. John?
Yep.
Yeah, Adam. Adam, are you here?
Right here, sorry.
Zachary, are you here? No. Scott?
Yeah.
Snyder here. Good? No. Okay, so I see you guys on next Tuesday. Alright, cool. So basically, we done everything with the lecture and that's,
Gabe's in there.
Yeah, sorry,
okay.
I'm here.
Okay, so see you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.